This is about, is it possible to swim 1 kilometer at minus 1.8 degrees centigrade in only a speedo at the North Pole? And it deals with the opportunity that I had to go with Lewis Pugh, who wanted to swim 1 kilometer in a speedo at the North Pole in minus 1.8 degrees centigrade and to return alive to Cape Town. And I was involved because that was my job. My job was to make sure he returned alive to Cape Town. And the question was, how was I acting? Was I acting as a doctor, exercise scientist, friend, coach, whatever? And so this is just to indicate the complexity of these questions that we're facing. So here's a picture of him swimming in the Arctic when my wife and they were with him. But our relationship began with one question on a phone call, as I recall. And he asked me this question. He said, "Can I swim around the Cape Peninsula?" Now, if I'd thought about it, as a consequence of this trial, what I should have said to him was, "Mr. Pugh, are you addressing that question to me as a doctor? Because if you are, you must come and consult me in my offices. I must take a history, I must examine you, and then I will give you an opinion." But I didn't do that. I said, yes. Now the question is he now my patient or not? Because technically, on the basis of the evidence I heard from the expert witness, Professor Pugh, he's now my patient. Just by answering on the phone and using those words, he's my patient. And this is a real question. What was he phoning me for? How did he see me? And did he consider that I was now going to become his doctor or not? So what happened was he swam around the peninsula because I'd said he could. But that wasn't the only information he had. He had information. He had swum the English Channel. I knew that. So I knew that he was competent. I knew enough about the physiology of long-distance swimming to know it's safe to swim around the Cape Peninsula if you do it properly. He then went and swam the fjord, the length of 200 kilometers, the length of Norway. And that was fine because the water temperature was high. And then he said, right, I want to go and swim in the Arctic at 3 degrees centigrade. And when he asked me that question, things changed, in my opinion. Because now he was moving into an area of danger, and he may well have assumed that I was the doctor to protect him from getting into trouble. So now I intervene, and now I take active steps, active measures. We say, Lewis, before you go to the Arctic, you must prove to us that it's safe. And so we set up this testing facility at the waterfront, and we put buckets, in fact tons of ice into this swimming pool, and we had him swim in the pool. There it is, not swimming, but he's doing breaststroke. And we would study him for 20 minutes because we knew that he'd have to be in this cold water for 20 minutes. And so we knew that, so now I'd intervene. I'd taken active steps. I'm looking after this guy. And he could reasonably assume, in my view, that we were in a doctor-patient relationship. However, he's never once called me doctor. It's always coach. He's always said coach. So if you asked him, were you in a doctor-patient relationship with Dr. Noakes? I'm not sure what he would answer. So then we went to the Antarctic and he swam. And by this time, our concern has grown because we want to know that this guy's going to be safe. So we develop a system for measuring his body temperature while he's swimming. And we have additional help. And this is my PhD student at the time, Jonathan Dugas, who is monitoring a computer which is monitoring his core body temperature. And Lewis Pugh is swimming under the belief that if I think it's unsafe, I will stop him. And I'm standing here and I'm watching him, and I'm watching every stroke, and I'm considering his safety. And then I'm the first person to go up to him after he's finished the swim, and he's just swum for 30 minutes and he's in bad shape. And we do interventions. We measure his temperature because I need to know what is his muscle temperature for future swims. If he's going to swim at 0 degrees centigrade and this is at 3 degrees, I need to know what is his total physical state before we put him into those conditions.
Page
So,
201,
so I would say at this stage, was he my patient? Unequivocally, yes. And I would think if you asked him, he would probably say, yes, I believe that Dr. Noakes was there acting as a doctor to make sure that I was not in danger. And that I chose Dr. Noakes because he had a special knowledge of science and physiology, and he'd worked with other swimmers in the past. So that was the relationship that we had developed. But it didn't come within 1 second of 7 words on Twitter. It took months, and in fact years, to develop this relationship. And so that he eventually did go to the North Pole, and so my job was finished. And again, now having had this relationship which addresses this question of when do you become a patient, I apologize if we're going to move out of this, but this would be quite a lot of interest. And again, this is an observation in paradox. And when I see paradox, I want to explain it.